Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of the Unwatched pile. Oh, you can see Andrew's got a pile right there. He's pulling stuff off.
I
There's
know.
an actual pile in one of the. Oh wow!
Yeah, things
And
are stacking up around me.
next thing you know, you're gonna be
I'm
like
like
doing the show like through like just this little box of like
exactly,
movies beside us. Yeah.
exactly. I'm gonna be like how people like lounge on their throne of gold. It's gonna be me lounging on my throne of
Ah,
Blu-rays and 4Ks.
yes. Kind of like that image of like Game of Thrones, like somebody on the
Yeah,
throne, just
yeah.
like
My throne will be made out of discs as opposed
yeah,
to
yes.
swords.
Yes. You could break a disc in half and it would probably be pretty lethal.
I
Um,
know it break my
but,
heart though.
yeah, I'm sorry. My third copy of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, my 25th copy.
That reminds me when the Citizen Kane first came out from Criterion and they had to send the replacement discs in. They wanted people to break it. And
Mm,
I'm like, I couldn't do that.
why?
I don't know. It's
Dumb.
kind of weird
That's the
for me.
only time I've ever heard anybody ever do that.
Yeah.
Ask for us to break discs. I don't know. But we're back again. Once again on the Unwatched pile. This is I think the 16th episode and my favorite number.
Nice.
And if you've never watched or listened to this show, it is a show where we dive into our collections, pick things, and this isn't everybody, but a lot of us collectors like to buy things we actually haven't even seen because we're collectors. We'd just like to gather things. And so, we pull stuff out of our collection that we haven't seen, we watch it, and we give our first impressions here. But along with that, and maybe this isn't how everybody else thinks, but for me, when I'm watching something new for the first time, I sometimes think, man, that kind of makes me feel like this other film or it would make a good pairing with this film. And so that's what we do here. We watch a movie, we give our first impressions, then pair it with something else in our collections to give a nice little double feature. And as always, we tag along a guest and part of the rotation coming from Australia. He's in the middle. It's in the middle of tomorrow. He's coming from the future, of course, as always. Tony Michas. How you doing, man?
Good, thank you. Thank you for the invite. And yes, it's now 11:08 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So yes, I am in the future.
Yes.
Hope you both are well.
Well, you tell us. I don't know. Check on us. But yeah, it's great to have you back, Tony. Tony's always, I think my favorite thing about Tony is he's got good energy. And he's got the good positive energy.
Thank you.
But I don't think we get enough of in the film community. So yeah, always good to have you here, Tony. Of course, he's always got the good backdrop. He's got movies just like all of us crazy collectors. Yeah.
I must, absolutely. I'm just shocked at the fact that this picture next to me is like nearly 7 years old. God, I've aged terribly.
Hey, it's the only one you ever give me. You always give me the nice young one.
Ones. I know, that's true. I got to give you more updated ones for sure.
Yeah, you look good, man. You look either way. It's okay. It's okay. Just it's always good to actors and people in Hollywood. They're always showing off their best image.
Yeah, that's true. It's your IMDb profile picture, basically.
Yeah. It's stayed up there for many years. Yeah. But awesome guys. So Tony, how's everything going in the I know, of course, if you've never met Tony on here before, he does the Imprint cast. He runs that, and he also co-hosts with John Matthews over at the Indicator cast as well. How's everything going over there?
Well, it's going very well, actually. We're having a bit, trying to schedule guests to do certain episodes is always difficult, but I know the November Imprint announcements were announced like nearly over 2 weeks ago, but we are going to record that very, very soon, actually. So awesome. We haven't forgotten. We're just waiting for the right guests to join in to discuss the certain titles. But, sometimes these things are unavoidable. Like, if you want the best people to talk about them, you just have to wait a bit. But that's
wait
it.
A little bit. Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah,
we know all about guests. We know all about guests. We used to do it all the time, and got a little burned out of doing that for a little while.
Yeah,
so,
I know John. I know John wanted to be involved in this episode as well, but he's just a bit busy himself. So
yeah, we were talking, and he's shooting that he's doing all that documentary stuff, which we're super excited about. I told him, I was like, we're gonna have to get you on Chasing Labels to talk about his adventures.
Believe me, his adventures were amazing. Like, we had a gathering over here at my place around a little over a week ago, and we heard some stories. I'll tell you that. But it was great seeing him again. Great to have him back. And yeah, I just can't wait to see the final product of his documentary. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's one of them things I think I've even brought up to Andrew before. Like, we need a good physical media document. Here it comes.
Well,
Here we go.
because I think the physical media world, excuse me, has been changing so much over the last several years. It feels like we need a new, like, updated version of what's going on. You know what I mean? Because the formats are changing, the boutique labels keep changing in terms of us getting new ones. And then old ones are upgrading to 4K, and then they're distributing all kinds of new movies from different places that we've never seen before. So it's constantly changing now. You know what I mean? Trust me, being here on Chasing Labels, it's hard to keep up with all of it. But it's great that documentary is coming out. I knew he was doing a heck of a lot of traveling all over the United States, like bouncing all around. I didn't know where several of the boutique labels were located. So if anything, it gave me an inside look already as to where some of these places are headquartered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud of John and I'm proud of Danny, who was also with him. They both did this collaboration together, and I'm proud of them. They're doing great work. I'll tell you that now. I haven't seen any footage, but I know it's in the editing stage at the moment. But it is going to be a great documentary. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic, man. All right. Well, let's get into the skinny of this. Of course, like I've already explained, we're all picking films in our collections that we haven't seen. Now, little caveat today, Andrew last minute had to make a split decision because he wasn't completely prepared. So he's chosen a film that he hasn't seen in a long time.
Right.
So it's almost like he's watching it for the first time again. That's
very, very true. And it was kind of an entire new experience because it was on a format it had never been before.
Yeah.
So it was. I'll get to it when we get to it. But I don't want to give away too much now.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Right. I was going to mention that I did fudge the numbers a bit and show something I'd already seen.
It's okay. You had to make a split last minute decision, and
I did.
It's okay. We don't know what his pairing is yet, so that'll at least be a surprise. But me and Tony, we followed the rules, and we're gonna. No, it's okay. His movie is a good movie to talk about, and it's a relevant new release, so it'll be fun to hear about his thoughts on the new release. So, but as always, we like to start with our guests, before we get in there, Josephine, of course, is always coming in hot. She's got a lot of stuff here. She says hey to all of us.
Josephine, we talk all the time. I always comment her every time she posts on Facebook, whatever new movie she watches. Yeah, always give her a little mini review. Like today, apparently she watched my favorite Hammer movie, The Devil Rides Out, and that's a great choice. Brilliant, love it.
Yeah, for sure. And Josephine, we're doing okay. I was just telling Tony off screen though. Actually, we all got sick. Sick last week, and all had COVID and stuff. But we're recovering fine. And you had a I know this news is a little while ago, but since you're a music man in this group, what do you make of Oasis getting back together? I don't care.
Really?
I've never been a super Oasis fan. To me, they're kind of like they're just trying to be the Beatles, and the Beatles are the Beatles. You know what I mean? Like that's just my thought. I mean, like I don't know. I've never been a. I like a few of their songs. I like a few of their songs, but it's not. I've never been into them that much. Oasis fans here?
I don't mind Oasis, but I'm not a diehard who will pay 12,000 Australian dollars for a ticket.
That's a bit much. It's like
I think it's £6.50 in England, but that's like basically 12,500 13,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's kind of wild. I understand the historical, reasoning behind significance of the reunion and all that history behind it. I say growing up in the 90s as, a young kid, they were always playing on the radio, Champagne Supernova, Wonderwall, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they were huge in the 90s. I think their big album celebrating like the 30th anniversary this year and stuff like that.
What's the Story, Morning Glory.
Yeah, so they were massive in the 90s. I can't understate that enough.
Oh,
For
they
those of you
were.
who did not live during that time, they were pretty massive. Um, yeah, so historically significant. But yeah, I'm with Tony. If they come to the United States, I wouldn't pay thousands of dollars to see them. I just don't. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't.
Nah, yeah, I'm okay. Our friend Ryan disconnected says hello.
Ryan.
That guy. I don't even know how he has time to pop in here and say hello. How's he have time? I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know how
But,
he's. I don't know how he's functional. I don't even know if he sleeps.
I don't
But
even know if he's
good on him.
real. I think he's
He's a,
potentially just
he's a
a
robot.
robot. Yeah, just a Terminator that's decided he's not going to go after Sarah Connor and just decides to start loving movies. That's the only thing I can think of.
That'd be a heck of a twist on the Terminator franchise. James
It'd be
Cameron
better than
talked
some of
about it
them
recently.
sequels, I can tell you that.
Yeah, James Cameron talked about it recently, what Terminator franchise will look like going forward, and said they're not
I
going to go
don't
back
care.
to that same well. And I'm kind of with you, Steven. I mean, we keep going back to it over and over again, and it never seems to take with people. You know what I mean? The audience doesn't seem to be
Unfortunately,
there.
the Terminator idea can only be. I think it was done twice, and it was like should have been it.
Hmm.
I mean, the third movie's not bad, but like, they probably just should have.
Yeah.
You know my thing about James Cameron. Like, I think he's a little overrated for me. I think he's made some great movies, but he's not really a story guy. He's a stylist, and he's about technology. He's not a great artist, filmmaker that comes.
Yeah, I mean, just
it's
on that
not-
same wavelength, since we do physical media, I'm curious what the Terminator 4K is going to look like. We just saw the cover art, which I talked about a little bit on Chasing Labels, and kind of disappointed how it's kind of shelling out the same old, Terminator face, the Arnold,
Yeah.
exoskeleton face, or the
Mhm.
Arnold face of the Terminator. And it's like we've seen this cover art before. They keep doing it on the DVD, on the
Mhm.
Blu-ray, and all that stuff. And it's like there's so many great graphic designers and graphic artists out there that are chomping at the bit to do some of this stuff. And we just keep getting the same old stuff over and over again from the
Mhm.
mainstream world,
Yeah.
at least.
Well, apparently he's a replicant, so that,
Oh,
not a
okay.
Terminator.
Okay.
I said,
That makes
works.
sense.
That makes
That works too. Works too. But let's get into it, guys.
Okay.
So as always, we start with our guest. What is your first time watch this time, Tony?
Okay. Well, as I said to you in the last show, and this time I do promise you, it's not by the same director again, like I did with.
It's okay. It doesn't matter.
It's
You do
completely
it. You-
different. And okay, it is an Imprint film, and it is quite recent as well. And when this was first announced, I was so intrigued to watch it because I love dark dramas. And the movie I chose is Synanon from 1965, directed by Richard Quine, starring Edmund O'Brien, Chuck Connors, Stella Stevens, Alex Cord, and Eartha Kitt, among many others. Now, this film is about it's about the Synanon House in the US, and that they specialize. Well, when this film was made in 1965, they specialized in drug rehabilitation, and all they do in the Synanon House is basically talk, smoke cigarettes, and drink lots of coffee. That's all they do. But the one rule is do not do any type of dope, which is what they don't do. Which of course it's a rehab center. But yeah, like the thing that intrigued me the most with this film is because in Australia it's a big deal because it got classified rated R18+, which is your equivalent to NC-17 in America. And for a film that was made in 1965 that got an R18+ rating, that's literally unheard of. Because the first film, John and I actually discussed this, the first film that was rated R was Pasolini's Teorema from '68. But this was released 3 years earlier, and it was just incredible what they got away with. But with this film, it's basically about this heroin junkie named he has a really, really weird name. Here we go. Zanky Albo, played by Alex Cord.
I know a Zenki. I know a Zenki.
Oh, you do? I never heard it before. So yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. It's my neighbor,
Yeah.
Zenki.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's going through heroin withdrawal, and he goes into the Synanon house, and they just want to change his, of course, make him feel better. But the way they make him feel better is he has to have a haircut, shave his mustache, talk, drink lots of coffee, and smoke a lot of cigarettes, and play music or whatever. But it is interesting the fact that while he's in there, he sees an old prison inmate that he was with, played by Chuck Connors, and he's apparently how can I call it, the guardian angel of the Synanon group. But then he falls in love with this girl. I forgot the character's name, unfortunately. Joni, I think. That played by Stella Stevens. I gotta admit, she looks so stunning in this film. I don't know if you can see right here. She looks stunning in this movie, definitely. And yeah, Zanke falls in love with Joni, and then what happens is instead another addiction happens, sexual addiction, basically. So instead of heroin, it's basically sex addiction, and then Zanke just decides to go back onto heroin and just go and leaves the Synanon house. But what's fascinating was Joni wanted to do the same thing. Like, she wanted to follow him because she actually did fall in love with him. But yeah. But then she realized no love is worth my life, with heroin or sex addiction or whatever, any kind of addiction. It is it's not worth it. My life is more important. I have to do this for my child. I have to do this for my marriage and everything. So yeah, this film, I gotta say, for a film made in 1965 about drug addiction, and there is a scene in the movie that actually has a graphic depiction of heroin injection, which I'm very surprised at, especially for 65. And yeah, I really liked it. I know it's another depressing film like I did last time, but okay. It was a really good one. Very, very not what I expected from Columbia Pictures. But the best thing about that was this movie was actually shot inside the Synanon house, the actual Synanon house, which is amazing. But then after Synanon came out, I believe they changed ownership in the 70s. And there was an HBO documentary called The Synanon Fix. Did the cure become a cult? And apparently from the 70s onwards until its closure in the 90s, the Synanon house basically became like a reform for, vasectomies for males. Women were forced to have abortions instead of being the actual reason for the place, drug rehabilitation. Yeah, that's what it was. But now it's closed. But I know there is one Synanon house that runs in Germany. That's what's going on now. But yeah, Synanon, I highly recommend it. But it is not for the faint of heart. Well, it's not that bad, to tell you the truth. But for a 1965 heroin film, yeah, it's pretty.
It's got heavy themes.
It has heavy themes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like that's a genre I like to dip my toe in every once in a while. I like some of the Eloy de Iglesia films, the kinky films. Them have some drug addiction movies, like it was like El Nero or something. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a couple like movies that are in that realm of drug addiction that he did in the kinky film set from Severin. But Andrew's trying to think of what they're called. I could see it in his face.
Is it? I keep getting Eloy and Alex confused. So
Alex is the one that does the Day of the Beast.
Gotcha.
And Eloy did like Cannibal Man and
he did
two different people.
Two different people. Are you talking about like Pals and
he did Pals. He did like I said, the kinky films. It's like a 3-film trilogy that Severin put out. I can't think of it. There's two. There's a
like Hidden Pleasures.
No. Okay. You're looking at something else. Let's move on from that.
Well, if you go onto the IMDb, most of his filmography is in Spanish.
Yeah.
Or is it Portuguese? No, I think it's Spanish. Either way, but we will move on before I get
Yes.
caught up in this.
Yeah. We don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but Ryan wasn't surprised by your choice.
No, you shouldn't be surprised from me, right? Come on.
Yeah, Imprint's been doing a lot.
Well,
lately.
yeah, I mean, somebody's got to rep him, you know, like
Yeah.
he's if he's doing an Imprint show, and he
Yeah.
doesn't show an Imprint selection here, then it would be kind of weird.
Very
he needs
true.
to represent.
You never know. I might do one next time. That's not an Imprint title, so you never know.
Well,
You
now
do
that Imprint's
feel.
for those of you, I guess, don't know much about Imprint, they are 360 titles into their line at this point or more.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and now they're getting into 4K, which they just announced their first batch of 4Ks a few weeks ago. That was big news. Yeah, that was monstrous.
Yeah.
It was
that entire month for November. Yeah, that's a
expensive
great month.
expensive month.
Yeah, I know it's going to hurt everybody's wallets, especially one title in particular, the movie that traumatized everybody as kids in the 80s. So
Yes.
yeah, that's definitely
The never-ending story.
Yeah.
But it is a gargantuan set. We talked about it here on Chasing Labels in a monstrous episode a few weeks ago. But yeah, that is a very interesting film dealing with, very contemporary themes in a non-contemporary time. The 1960s are definitely not now. But as we all know, if anyone knows anyone with addiction, family member, friends, whomever, addiction is, it hits every generation. You know what I mean? It hits everyone. It goes back as far as these substances have existed, centuries, if you will.
Yeah.
We've always had historical references to people dealing with, whether it be like opium addiction, whether it be dealing with alcoholism or whatever type of addiction. It's something that's very, very contemporary.
It is. Yeah, I saw the Humboldt Horror Honey is on there. Oh, love her.
Oh, nice. These are all the regulars, by the way, for anybody tuning in for the first time or listening. Everybody, yeah. Tony's one of the regulars too. So, like, even though he's not in the comments, he's here in person.
I always
so like double works.
I always watch because I'm also working because I work from home and I do watch in the background. If I'm not replying, you know why? I am.
Yeah. It's fine. I think I tell everyone who's listening. It's like I always thank them for all of the. If you're listening now, you're listening later, whatever, audio, visual, all the support is welcomed here. It's never turned away. It's never turned away. But yeah, that's really cool. So, Stephen, who will you be going to next?
You.
Of course you are. So, as we said during our intro, I am a day late and a dollar short, as they say, when it comes to my preparation for said thing. So this will be done almost in an improvisational way. So I'm picking something. Not something that's so much a first-time watch, but something I haven't seen in probably over a dozen years, because it was relegated to DVD for the longest time, and it's been sitting in my collection on DVD. But the new edition just came out, and that is Bringing Out the Dead, the Martin Scorsese film that I don't think is talked about nearly enough. So I guess I'm going to talk about it today. Came out in 1999. Written by Paul Schrader. I think it's the last thing that Scorsese and Paul Schrader collaborated on. Starring, as you can see here up front, Nicolas Cage looking rather haggard. You have Patricia Arquette in the film. Ving Rhames is in the film. Also, John Goodman is in the film as well. There's just several people you'll notice that pop in and out, perhaps. Just like kind of like character type of people. And this film is similar to what Tony is talking about, dealing in the medical health field, if you will. Nicolas Cage is an ambulance driver, but he is the one who has the graveyard shift, if you will. He's out there like, I'm assuming midnight to like dawn. Those just ridiculous insomniac type of hours. You know what I mean? And he is in, of course, it's a Scorsese film, so it's got to be New York at night. And Nicolas Cage sees every type of character that you could possibly find on the streets of New York at night, who either need an ambulance or don't need an ambulance. And he comes across everyone from gunshot wounds to heart attacks to people with mental health issues just walking into traffic in the streets, drug dealers, drug users. Just everything under the sun that you could imagine. And he kind of goes back and forth between the streets and a local ER, a local hospital, And that's kind of the two main settings of the movie. So that's all you see is this entire movie is set at night pretty much. And it's just him going on these calls and his mental and physical health just kind of breaking down because of it, because he can't handle the stress, the anxiety, the depression, all of the stuff that just weighs on him doing this relentless, kind of heart-shattering job, and his mental health is declining to the point where he's starting to see, essentially visions and the ghosts of people he hasn't been to save. He hasn't been able to save. So his mental health is deteriorating. And of course, it's Nicolas Cage doing an unhinged performance, which if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, you know that that's kind of what he does. That's kind of what he does. It's what he's known for. But what you get in this film is that Paul Schrader script. So it's got the grittiness, the harshness of the reality. Paul Schrader doing a film about a man like like a lonely man deteriorating is something that he's done throughout his entire career. If you think about Taxi Driver, think about the movie Hardcore, George C. Scott, think about Affliction, those types of movies that Paul Schrader has gotten into. Even his most recent work, thinking of what's the film? Is it The Card Counter, the one with Oscar Isaac, and then the newest one, The Gardener with I think it's Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, it's Joel Edgerton,
and it's these similar types of characters. I was just thinking of American Gigolo the other day because I have to add that to my collection, and that's a similar type of film.
First Reformed.
First Reformed's another one. And Stephen,
that's brilliant.
You did a Paul Schrader film, I think, on the last Unwatched pile, the one with Willem Dafoe.
Yes, the
Light Sleeper.
Light Sleeper, right, yeah.
Which is another film with these similar types of characters going through these existential crises that are just bringing them down into the doldrums of life. And that is what is happening with Nicolas Cage in this film. And he meets Patricia Arquette, and he strikes up a bond with Patricia Arquette, which seems to be another type of thing that's a typical of a Paul Schrader script, where someone seems to have this connection with someone else, and they kind of go on this doldrum trip together. You know what I mean? They kind of have like a symbiotic bond of stuff. Patricia Arquette's character, her father, is in and out of cardiac arrest, essentially. They have to keep reviving him, and that's kind of part of the movie. It's like every time they come back to the ER, like he's being revived, and she's holding on to him, and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot going on in this movie when it comes to kind of life and death and the teetering on the brink of it all, and kind of gives you a little bit of a kind of a heightened look at what it is like to be in, be an EMT in this type of landscape, in this type of level, dealing with life and death on a daily, or in this case, a nightly basis. But what this movie does have, other than the Paul Schrader down and dirty script, it has the sleek style of Martin Scorsese. You know what I mean? The fast, quick editing, the pacing that keeps everything going. The movie is relatively cut to the bone, even though I think it's over. Yeah, it's like a 2 hour and 10-minute film or so. But it keeps moving along because you've got that great editing in it. And like I said, this is a movie that had only been on DVD for many years. It's the 4K UHD. Not quite a boutique label, so kind of fudging the numbers on that again. It's a Paramount Presents.
It's their boutique version.
Yeah, it's like kind of their boutique, even though they kind of mostly put out mainstream movies. It's got a Blu-ray and 4K, which I guess is important now because a lot of releases are only coming with 4Ks only, so it's nice to get the Blu-ray. And yeah, I think it's a criminally underrated Martin Scorsese film that's been long overlooked. I hope it gets a bit of a reevaluation or a reappraisal, or just people discovering for the first time on this new format.
Yeah. And it looks I got the same edition. It does look to have a lot of great features on there. I think Justin Beam, our friend Justin Beam, I think produced a lot of them too.
He did. Yeah, there's a bunch of new stuff on here because the DVD is, over 2 decades old. So it's got Film Focus with Martin Scorsese doing a retrospective, Rumination on the Salvation. Nicolas Cage talks about the movie. Cemetery Streets, which is Paul Schrader talking about the movie. City of Ghosts, which cinematographer Robert Richardson talks about the movie. On-set interviews, that's 23 minutes long with everybody who's in the cast. Oh, Tom Sizemore's in the movie. I forgot about Tom Sizemore. He's kind of a scumbag in this movie. There are a lot of gray characters and then straight up bad guys in this movie, and Tom Sizemore is, I think, one of the bad guys. So yeah, it's a really great release, and watching it on this new format is kind of like watching it for the first time again.
Yeah.
That's how upgraded the picture quality of it is, I would say.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to pop it in. I haven't had a chance to pop it in yet, but yeah. I'm excited to revisit it. It's been a while since I watched it myself, so awesome. You're
Yeah,
a fan of Bringing Out the Dead, Tony?
I love this movie. I actually saw it theatrically when it came out in '99, and
Nice.
here you go, Andrew. Oh, well, after you're done,
Yeah,
here you go.
thank you.
Yeah.
Here's the
Oh,
original
there she
DVD.
is.
Yeah, got that DVD. I think we all have that DVD.
I
Yeah,
do indeed.
I'm waiting for that 4K. That so the picture quality is good in that one.
Yeah, it looks very, very good. I think they went back and remastered from the original camera negative, which they still have.
Right.
Of course, it's a dark movie. I mean, like I said, the whole movie takes place at night, mostly inside of either the ER or inside of the ambulance. But what it really comes across is kind of the detail of like small details, like the uniforms, like the streets at night, stuff like that. Looks really, really good. It's a very like there's no color. There's not a lot of color in the film.
No, there is.
If anything, Nicolas Cage is looking pale as heck as he's deteriorating. Like he's looking like he's someone who needs medical help throughout the movie.
Yeah, definitely. But we can't forget one more person. You mentioned Patricia Arquette. You mentioned Ving Rhames and Tom Sizemore. One character, supporting character, mind you, but still, the performance of Mark Anthony, who plays that that guy who has mental issues, and I'll never forget when I saw it theatrically in '99, the sequence where he is covered in blood and standing in the middle of the roads in New York. Oh, and then all he wants to do is die. He just wants to. He will do whatever it takes to kill himself in any way. But that's the one performance I've never forgot from Bringing Out the Dead from Mark Anthony.
Yeah,
and of course, Robert Richardson's amazing cinematography. I have been a huge fan of Robert Richardson's work since Oliver Stone. He worked with Oliver Stone a lot back in the 80s and 90s. And of course, probably to me, his best Oliver Stone film that he was a DP of was JFK. That he won the Oscar for that. That was his first Oscar win. And ever since then, I just love how Robert Richardson's camera work looks in the film. It's incredible.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Bringing Out the Dead. Can't believe it took you so long to watch that for the first time, Andrew.
I know.
Oh, geez. So, I was, as I said at the beginning of the show, I was sick last week, so I didn't have a lot of time. And then just like the time that I've had has just been with family trying to take care of each other. So I had to pick a quick pick myself, and only had like today to watch this show, to watch this movie. I had today. So, and the baby was in the room. That's all I've had. So I chose a film I actually got in the mail last week. I was like, I'm just going to watch something I just got. Who cares? And it's from I think a lesser known label in Vinegar Synder's partner labels. They're called Memory. And the movie's called Dogleg. And what, this is definitely obviously a blind buy that I chose off one of the last announcements they did. And what intrigued me about it was that it was of course a movie about making a movie. There's that element in the story where you got this guy, the director of this film, Al Warren, is actually he stars in the movie. I believe he edits. He does he does the M. Night Shyamalan treatment on this movie. And so in the movie, he plays a guy who's trying to finish a film he's been working on for years. And he has an important shoot day on this particular day. This is one of the movies where it's all in one day. And at the beginning of the film, his fiance is about to leave town for business, and she asked him to watch after her dog, who is very important to her. She's very close to this dog. So he's supposed to, he's got a whole list of things he's got to do this day leading up to the fact that he has a shoot later that day. And so in the part of that was going to this gender reveal party for a friend, and he brings the dog along, and then the dog at this party gets loose in the city. So now he's fighting between the fact that he needs to find this dog and then getting ready to go shoot this important stuff for his movie he's been trying to do. And he's like an independent, just like the movie itself. He's an independent filmmaker. He's been trying to make this movie for 5 years, and he's been piecing it together for years. And so the movie kind of, I guess, takes you on this journey of, self-discovery of like figuring out that everything's kind of out of your control. I mean, that's the way what I took from it, watching it for the first time, is that he's figuring out, that everything's kind of out of his control. He as much as you can plan for a movie, as much as you can plan in life, things are going to happen and things are going to be out of your control. And you can either embrace that or you can, try to fight it, and that doesn't always, work out for you when you're resistant to every, because it just makes you negative. It makes you always a negative person, and people don't want to work for negative people. And that happens to him in the film. There's a moment where he goes over the top. He lets things get to him, and then everybody kind of just like leaves him. And so, it's for the first time watching it, it's a really solid indie film. It's a filmmaker that I'm not really aware of. Like I said, his name's Al Warren. I don't believe he's done any other full length. This might be his first full length feature. Yes, it is. He has, I think, done some other stuff since, but this was definitely his first full length. And in the features of the disc, it's got some of his short films in here. So, but it's got that kind of like dry sense of humor to it. Very natural humanistic scenarios that he's put himself in that you just kind of got to chuckle at. It's not like a laugh out loud, laughy type of movie, but it's real characters that keep you engaged. So, anybody familiar with this at all? No.
I can honestly say no, but it does sound pretty promising. It does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, actually, you mentioned that it's put out by one of the partner labels. I think that release was just announced, September 1st?
Yeah, it was the recent one, yeah.
Yeah, it was the most recent announcements. I know because I covered it at the time. And it was one movie I actually wanted to see, but I didn't have the time to see it. It is streaming on Mubi, and it's streaming. It's available to rent on like Amazon and places like that. But it felt like something that was incredibly indie, but also somewhat surreal. I remember reading the premise of it and the concept of him having to go into the woods and find this dog and not being able to find the dog and something like that seemed like surreal to me.
There is an I don't want to give it away because it's part of what the movie is trying to say. So I want to keep that for people watching it for the first time, but it has an element to it where it very much is also talking about how control and film, like about the film, about creative process, about filmmaking process, like it's in there as well, not just about the human element to all this, but about the actual film itself is involved in this,
right?
Too. So
and just quickly, Al Warren apparently was in the movie Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. So if we're playing 6 Degrees of Nicolas Cage, we're doing well. We're doing well.
Good job. Good pick, Andrew.
Thank you.
You made a connection at least.
All I did was go on Letterboxd and look to see what his acting credits were.
Yeah.
All I did.
But it's a solid indie film. It's a discovery. It's one I want to sit with more. Watch some of his shorts to see what his style is more, and I'll be looking out to see what else this guy does. So, all right. Well, rounding back down to Tony, we got to see what he's pairing. He's pairing his drug addiction drama with.
Yep. I had a difficult choice with that one. John actually gave me a suggestion, and I didn't think of it at the time. I thought that would have been the perfect pairing, but I decided to stick with my one. John's pairing, that his suggestion was The Panic in Needle Park with Al Pacino and Kitty Wynn. That would have been a great pairing, but I honestly didn't think of this. So my pairing is the 2000 cult masterpiece, Requiem for a Dream.
That's what I was
That's
thinking
a
of in
good
my
one.
head. Yeah.
I was thinking that. I was also thinking of what was that? The Man with the Golden Arm. I was thinking of that as well. But that's a good pairing. Good pairing.
Yeah, this Synanon, that was tame. That was basically
that's the B
film.
movie to this movie.
A B movie, a kids film compared to this.
Yeah.
This now I saw this. I did see it theatrically in 2000 when it came out, and oh boy, a lot of walkouts. I remember that very well. But it was a punch. It packed a punch, a big one when they came out. And I saw it again on VHS. But mind you, the theatrical cut was censored. But with this director's cut, it's completely uncensored, and it really disturbed me even more. But yeah, this film is basically another drug film, but it's a very extreme one. Like, you know, but Ellen Burstyn plays a mother named Sarah Goldfarb, who has a son named Harry. Harry's girlfriend is Marion, played by Jennifer Connelly, and of course the son's played by Jared Leto. And of course, Jared Leto's best friend's played by Marlon Wayans in one of his few dramatic roles, which I gotta say, he was damn good in this one. But yeah, but see, it's basically the descent into hell. That's probably the best way to describe this film. Descent into literal hell. And some of the sequences in that film, you know, great cuts. Well, of course, from Aronofsky, you can expect anything from him, but this was just the quick cuts, quick shots of the eye and everything, all quick shots of eyes, like, you know, dilating, the pupils dilating, I should say, but it's incredible. But of course the one thing we can't forget, I have to say, is Ellen Burstyn's performance as Sarah. She was nominated for an Oscar. She should have won the freaking Oscar, because that was a performance of the ages. I absolutely loved her in this movie. But yeah, it's the last 30 minutes, if you have the stomach for it, it's one hell of, I don't mean to pun the word hell, but it is hell, basically. But it is so good. It is one of the best drug films I've seen in a long time. But not for everybody again, but it is a good one.
Yeah,
what did Humble Horror Honey said? What she wrote a comment. That's quite the scene that will never leave my brain. I'm assuming the
that whole sequence at the end, like they were mentioning, like the last 30 minutes, where they had the cross cutting of just the surreal moments of everybody just crashing into oblivion. That's kind of what you would say.
That's it. Absolutely.
It's one of the most powerful anti-drug movies you can ever watch, I would say.
Absolutely. It sure is.
We talked about, everyone's got kind of their own vices in life, and some vices are more detrimental than others. But like we were just talking about, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, any type of addiction, it drives you down. It can. And in this film, they're dealing with kind of the gambit. You mentioned Ellen Burstyn. I think she's addicted to, isn't it like it's like weight loss pills or something?
Diet pills, yeah.
Diet pills, yeah. And she's seeing just like visions of just wild things. I believe Jared Leto and Marlon Wayans, I think they're addicted to heroin, I want to say. Yes. And there are sequences where they're shooting up, and it's like you got to be desperately addicted to do some of the things that they are doing.
On that dreadful arm.
Oh, yeah, boy, and of course Aronofsky, has the close up of it and just holds it there. He's not a director who's afraid to shy away from anything when it comes to visuals.
That's why I respect him.
He's typically not a subtle filmmaker. He's
no, not at
straight
all.
at you. He's very literal.
Comes straight at you.
He's very literal with everything.
And this is kind of interesting because I believe this is his second film. His first film being Pi, which doesn't get talked about a lot, and that's a completely different film. But to come out with this film as your second film is very bold. And he went on to do films like The Wrestler, and he did Black Swan. He did
The Whale,
Noah. And did he do The Fountain?
He did The Fountain,
which I think is criminally underrated. But that's just
I agree. I could not agree more with that. Definitely.
I know there was
we can't forget Mother.
I love Mother.
When you brought up,
I love that movie.
When you brought up people walking out, when I went to see Mother in theaters, we had there was a walkout.
I had a lot of walkouts with Mother when I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I think, and they didn't even get to the part where things got really wild in that movie.
Yeah,
I just think they went to a movie because Jennifer Lawrence was in it, and they had no idea what it was. I think they didn't know who Aronofsky was. They didn't know
they were about to get the story of the Bible.
That's like I've heard. I have a friend who went to see Black Swan, and some young people were there because it was a movie about ballet, and it's like it's not really about ballet. It's not. And Aronofsky is one of those filmmakers who, if you're looking for kind of like Tony said, like kind of a gut punch of a film, his work is really what you're looking for. I remember seeing The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, and it's still a movie I think about a lot because it was a bit of a career revival for Mickey Rourke, but also it's such a interesting, kind of solo look at like I said, a broken person trying to deal with their broken life. And sometimes, no matter what you do, you just can't fix things. You have to accept things for what they are, and what you are. It's a very interesting work. It's a shame that Mickey Rourke had that comeback performance, but I don't think he really did much after that to ride that wave. You know what I mean?
It was a shame.
Yeah,
because that performance was incredible.
It really was. But yeah. What a movie, Requiem for a Dream. I remember I owned it on DVD, owned it on Blu-ray, and then I remember when the 4K was announced, and I was like, am I going to buy this? Because am I going to watch it again? It's one of those movies where I don't know if I can watch it multiple times.
It was tough for me to watch it multiple times as well, believe me. But for prepping for this episode, this was my third full rewatch of Requiem for a Dream. But I checked when I bought the 4K when it came out, as you can see. But I had to check out. I just wanted to see how it looked, and it looked pretty good. It looked really good for the 4K. But then I just thought, you know what? For a drug movie, the only one I could think of at the time was Requiem. But then John suggested Panic. I thought, I should have done that one. Damn it! But, oh well, I was committed, so that's it.
Yeah, well,
nice.
It's a good pick. That's it. I mean, I haven't seen your was it Santor? How do you say your first film?
Synonym.
Haven't seen that, but Requiem for a Dream. If it's like the little kid brother version, that's probably your lead-in movie, right? You watch that one first. And then you're like, get ready for this shit, and then you
perfect double actually. Yeah, Synonym first, then the hard stuff.
Okay, you guys. I know it's a little late. I know it's getting a little heavy in here. You kids can leave if you want, if you can't stand this crazy shit that's about to happen. But all right, cool. That's a good double feature. I like it. Andrew,
yes,
surprise us with your bringing out the dead pairing.
I did.
You haven't yet.
My pairing, like I said, this was done very improvisational. So I don't know. I just grabbed this off the shelf. Here we go. Leaving Las Vegas.
Wow.
Nicolas Cage, Elizabeth Shue, directed by Mike Figgis, who is a name I know many of you probably don't remember or know of, because this is kind of one of his, actually probably the claim to fame of movies that he's done in his career. But I remember early on in my movie collecting, movie loving life that I read his book about filmmaking called Digital Filmmaking. And a book that's probably out of date by now because I think it was written in the 2000s, and obviously filmmaking on an indie level is vastly different now. But anyway, this is Leaving Las Vegas. This is the film that Nicolas Cage won his one and only Oscar for. I believe he was up against Sean Penn for Dead Man Walking. I think those were the two kind of heavy hitting performances of that year, which I think was I want to say 1995. Yes, 1995. And this is a movie similar to what's going on in Bringing Out the Dead. Is literally about dying. In the sense that um, Nicolas Cage's character takes a trip to Las Vegas where he's going to drink himself to death because of reasons. And you see him slowly deteriorate due to alcoholism. Basically alcohol poisoning that he's doing to himself constantly, relentlessly throughout this movie. And he just has no desire to live anymore. You talk about bleak, there's a little bit of a bleak theme going on throughout the various picks tonight. This is even bleaker than Bringing Out the Dead because it is
Oh, I
dealing with
agree.
more directly towards death. And there's nothing that can bring him out of this determination to essentially kill himself slowly. If any, yeah, it's kind of euthanasia via alcoholism. And where Elizabeth Shue comes into the mix here is that she is a sex worker. She's a sex worker in Las Vegas. And she meets him, and they kind of have this strength and bond and connection with one another. And even that strength and that bond, whether it be romantic or just this human connection, is it may still not be enough to bring him out of it. You know what I mean? As powerful as it is, sometimes, like I was saying, you can't fix the unfixable. You can't fix what's permanently broken. And there's something permanently broken about Nicolas Cage in this film. And it's one of the saddest movies you'll ever see. It's one of the saddest performances I think you'll ever see. One of the bleakest films you'll ever see. And yeah, it's been on DVD. It's been on Blu-ray for years. This needs like some type of remaster or some type of anniversary edition or something. Next year will be the 30th anniversary if timing
Yeah.
is what I think it is. So hope perhaps some boutique label out there will get a hold of this. As it is, this is a 20th Century Fox release via MGM. I think this came out during the time where MGM was dealing with bankruptcy issues. This Blu-ray, and they had to like sell their catalog to whoever wanted it. And then I think Fox was one of the companies that picked up a bunch of this stuff to put out on Blu-ray. So you don't get really anything when it comes to special features. It's just the uncut, unrated version featuring explicit footage not seen in theaters. Yeah, it is an explicit, dark film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always thought about this movie. This is a movie like Requiem for a Dream, like Tony was saying. It sticks with you. It really sticks with you.
All right. Well, I'm not going to complain about a Nicolas Cage double feature.
No, a depressing Nicolas Cage double feature, if you will.
It doesn't matter.
I feel like there needs to be a third film and like make it a triple feature, but I'm trying to think of a third depressing Nicolas Cage film.
Oh man.
Well, I would say Mandy, but
yeah.
I don't think that's depressing. I think that's fun personally.
I like Mandy, but God.
Oh, you know what? Pig.
That's a trip right there.
Pig would be,
that's a good one.
Yeah, Pig would be a third one in that triumvirate of depression.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that or like what's the one he did? Joe.
I was thinking of Joe.
Joe, where he's the lumber worker,
David Gordon Green,
an alcoholic that is kind of on his own, and yeah,
I was thinking of Matchstick Men, but it's not quite a depressing movie.
No,
although he's unhinged in it. He's kind of a loner. I don't know. I'd say
Joe
on the mind.
Nicolas Cage has said that Joe is actually the closest to himself that he's ever done in any movie.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
like he would. You could really. That's just that statement's depressing.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas
Cage is a fascinating individual. We all talk about his career on here a lot, but I didn't realize how big of a comic book fan he is.
Oh, he's huge.
He's massive. I saw videos of him at like a comic book convention, just like talking to fans, like picking out comics from a vendor and just like showing them. And then like some of the comics he had in his hands are like $1,000 comics. So I'm guessing Nicolas Cage can afford $1,000 like first appearance of Iron Man and stuff like that. And it's just like, and he just like everyone's gathered around him. He's just talking about, oh yeah, this is that. It's like he's a fascinating dude.
Now, before we get off the Nicolas Cage thing, I got to say one thing. One of my recent purchases.
Long Legs.
I
There
still
you
haven't
go.
seen. I still haven't seen it.
Long
I've
yet.
seen it, and I think
It's so
I
good.
talked about it
Yeah.
on here, and I thought it was. I think it's brilliant, and he's
It's great.
as unhinged as you can imagine.
I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely unhinged. I think it's. I personally believe. Well, I'm not kind of. I'm not. I'm just. I'm going to discount Leaving Las Vegas because that performance was incredible. This one, Long Legs, was definitely one of Nicolas Cage's best performances, in my opinion. He played a serial killer so well, but I know the movie is not for everybody. No, not a lot of people. It was very divisive,
Yeah.
but it's.
I'm
great.
excited to see it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
To see
You'll
it.
love it. I'm telling you now. I think you'll like
I
it.
forgot that. I'm glad you actually brought that up because I forgot that's come out already. It seems like the theatrical to home video release time frame is so short these days that you almost
It
can't even
is.
keep up with it. Like I felt like I
Yeah.
just saw Long Legs the other day, and it's already out on Blu-ray, out on 4K for us to
Yeah.
consume at home. So short a window.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I got to come up. I guess out of the three of us, I have the least depressing movies.
Well, we need some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doglegs kind of. I mean, it is a kind of a indie, like kind of like I wouldn't say. I guess you could say mundane in a way. Like it's a very naturalistic type of movie. So it's not trying to be pizzazzy or anything. So it's definitely very naturalistic, which is why I chose the film I chose with it. Because to me, if I'm gonna, I could have gone a couple different routes because this film has a couple different elements I could have honed in on. My first gut instinct was to kind of go for the movie Living in Oblivion because it is about a film being made and like the things going on around the film being made. But I think I've already used that as a film in a double feature before. So I didn't want to pick something that I already used, even though it's a different pairing. Then my other thought, because there is this element of kind of like going around and kind of stumbling upon random people, kind of this after hours kind of vibe in ways. I almost went that route. But the After Hours has got a more straight up, a more comedic tone than this movie even has. So I wanted to hone in on that kind of randomness that and that indie vibe that I think this film matches up way better with, and especially the naturalisticness of everything. Yeah. And that's Richard Linklater's Slacker. I think is a good pairing with this. It has the very similar vibes. And I think that what this film can convey, is what it conveyed when it came out, which is that this, at the time, this was like kind of different, this movie where there's not necessarily a narrative structure and it's just literally following people person to person and just hearing their stories. And that's the type of movie that I think the character in Dogleg is trying to make. Right. He's trying to, because in the movie he's making this movie, and they're all kind of like the parts he's filmed already are like these vignettes. They're these kind of disconnected shorts that he wants to kind of weave together. So in a way, he's making these very random things. And like I said, I don't want to spoil how the movie unfolds, but by the end of it, you get this idea of this like kind of randomness, that all the scenes end up being very random, but they're also together. They all work together. And I think this is an example of the kind of movie he was trying to make, is this very naturalistic human film. And I think that's what Slacker is. Richard Linklater, made this movie for like $23,000, like nothing. And it's just a bunch of people just living their lives, and you're meeting all different types. And it's in Austin, Texas. And you get it. It's all about vibe, and it's about, kind of getting a real glimpse at people's everyday lives. So I think that this would, once anybody sees Dogleg, you might feel the same way, hopefully, that I do about this pairing. But I know you're a fan, Andrew, of Linklater and Slacker. But Tony, are you a fan?
I am. I think Richard Linklater is one of the a really great independent filmmaker. Like Slacker is, I haven't seen that in years, mind you. I have it in my collection, but I have not seen it in a very long time now. Yeah, but now thinking about it, you are right. That does make a good pairing with Dogleg for sure. But my favorite Linklater film, I have to say, it'll always be School of Rock. I've always loved. I love
I
how
fucking love School Rock. Yeah,
I love how he went to.
I can do the movie for you. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, like the thing that impressed me about Richard Linklater was he did it his own way. Like he never went to film school or anything. He just wanted to make a movie, and he did, and it was amazing. And he's really good at that. But even with School of Rock, that's a big Paramount Pictures studio film. I'm just glad that they made him do it his way, which is fantastic. And that's one of those where I love it. But Winkler has made some really good films, but I haven't seen his new one from Netflix. I'm still out of date with that one. But yeah, he's made some great films, and I really enjoy. I love his audacity in some of those films.
Yeah, I think his. I think Linklater's biggest attribute that is just his ability to get human performances out of his actors. Like he somehow brings the humanity out of everybody that he's, and sometimes it's because it's how he's decided to make the movie. Of course, in the case of something like Boyhood, where he literally filmed over many years, that almost that time that's put into the film shows. It shows in each person as they've gotten older, the way that they choose to act in that scene or that section of the film is different. They're different, but I know, Andrew, you can talk a little bit, because I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, big Richard Linklater fan. I mean, I think he's been an influence on me when it comes to not only my cinematic taste, but really also, when I wanted to be or still want to be, a filmmaker. His style of filmmaking is very close in line with the types of films in which I could envision myself making if I so choose to. And
as you know, Andrew likes to bring up time a lot.
In his early, you talk about this movie. This movie is all about really timing and time, because you're just kind of following random people doing random things at a random time. That's kind of what Slacker is. And it's also kind of about this idea of slacker culture, in quotes, where this kind of slacker culture basically not doing anything. That's kind of what slackerism is, if slackerism is a word.
It is now.
Yeah, it's that term is not really used a lot now. I think they just call people lazy, which is the easier term. But this idea of slackering, and just kind of not doing anything significant. And what's interesting about this movie is that everyone you follow and everyone you see for this small amount of time aren't really doing anything that's significant in any way. It's just people like walking down the street having a conversation, walking in a bookstore having a conversation, driving in a car, getting picked up at the airport in a taxi. You know what I mean? Like regular things. And the movie is so brilliant for all of that, because it's a movie about nothing, but it's still kind of fascinating, like endlessly fascinating, because it's such a cross section of people all within a small area. But when it comes to Richard Linklater, of course, you mentioned Boyhood, the Before trilogy, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight are, I think staples when it comes to a lot of people's personal favorites. I know, in my opinion, they are. I think he has criminally underrated movies in his filmography as well. Me and Orson Welles still stuck in DVD land. I would love a Blu-ray of that at some point. Thank you very much. Some of his '90s work, like Suburbia and Tape, I think are really good, and they're kind of on DVD, but you can't really find them too many places. Tape starring Ethan Hawke, as well as, who else is in that movie? Uma Thurman is in that film as well, and it all takes place in like one like motel room. It's just all dialogue, and it's really, really good. Really, really good. And Suburbia is kind of like a Dazed and Confused for a '90s generation. It's kind of like his '90s Dazed and Confused. And then you got, Everybody Wants Some, a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused is a movie that I think I've watched at least every year, at least once. at least once. I have to see it at least once a year or so. Yeah, his filmography has meant a lot to me over a long time. So Slacker's one that I think everyone needs to see, especially if you want to know what like indie film looked like in the early '90s. Like Slacker is kind of a poster child for that.
Yeah,
Definitely
was it was a kind of the film came out in 1990, so it was kind of
Mm.
it got things started.
Yeah, it definitely and also
Sex Lies and Videotape.
yeah,
Slacker.
it influenced people who we now know of. Like Kevin Smith saw Slacker, and that's what
Kevin
inspired him
Smith,
to make
yeah.
Clerks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it inspired other filmmakers later on.
For sure. But yeah, I always it's one of my favorite genres as well as just movies about making movies. So Dogleg was definitely a worthwhile pickup. I'm always happy to say that my blind buys are worthwhile. So I always feel good about that. I think that's only happened one time where I've been like a little bit like maybe I shouldn't have bought that, and that was Southland Tales. That was the only one I was like,
right.
Yeah.
I can see why.
Yeah. But all right. Well, that is it for this installment of the Unwatched Pile. Tony, thanks once again for joining us, man.
Andrew and Stephen, thank you so much for inviting me. And anytime if you want to, if you'd like to invite me on again, I promise I'll try and make the next one a non-imprint title.
You don't have
I'll
to
do what I can.
dude. You do what you feel, man. Just don't do what Andrew did and forget.
I completely I'll be honest with everyone. I
Completely messed up the
forgot.
schedule in his Just don't do that.
Just don't do that. Don't do what I do.
No worries.
Mess up the schedule.
Yeah. But as always, it's just always good to have an excuse to watch something new and chat about it. So, and of course, as always, everybody that's hung with us and watched, thank you once again, and thank you. We're glad you enjoyed the show. And I think everybody else either went off and I know Ryan said he was having a movie night of his own, so he left us.
Probably watching Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would be watching with my family.
That's not a family movie.
Yeah.
No, of course. Got that for a second.
Yeah. But thanks everybody for watching, listening. This will be, of course, on audio format as well. And of course, check back here on the Chasing Labels channel. This coming Monday, you have Chasing Labels with Andrew, who will be here to update you on.
It will either be, it's probably going to be moved. The next episode of Chasing Labels, which I think is episode 149, probably be moved till after the 1st of October.
Right? Wednesday, right?
Yeah, just to give me some time to go over the Vinegar Syndrome and the partner label stuff, which is dropping on that Tuesday, actually.
Yeah.
So I want to include that into that episode just to have more things to talk about and not wait 2 weeks to talk about stuff. So that will be then. And yeah, please tune in for that if you indeed have the time.
Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening and watching. And hey, dude, it's getting late, guys. If you're gonna get a movie in, you better get it in now. I know, Tony, it's the middle of the day for you, so you're fine. But here in the US, it's getting late. So get the hell out of here. Watch the movies.
Have a good one.
You too.